Good evening and welcome back to the second season of TFF Talks. I'm your host, Danny Cook, and tonight is the 7th episode of our new season. And we once again reflect on all of this weekend's footballing action. But before we begin, this show is sponsored by Classic 11 Shirts and brought to you by Crofer Media and Halftime Cuppa. You can find all these links in the description below. And if you're watching live tonight on YouTube, please do send in your questions and views to us in either the YouTube chat section or to us via Twitter using our Twitter handle at @officialTFF. And we plan to read these out throughout tonight's show as always. So, yeah, please do send them in. In the meantime, don't forget to obviously catch up on all of the previous shows. Just to clarify, because I didn't really get the chance to clarify last week, we will no longer be posting our shows, our weekly shows on Audio Boom for the time being. We're going to look at different ways to post it, different sites as well. So we may return back to Audio Boom, but for now, it'll just be available on YouTube. But we're certainly looking into ways in which we can distribute. So do not worry, we're on the ball. Anyway, on to this evening, and this evening's show will be a little bit different. It seems like this week is the the worst Monday to do this on, and it seems that panel-wise, everyone's busy tonight. So there must be a party that I am clearly not invited to. But nevertheless, I'm here and I'm joined by the legendary S.A. Agboye, who claims he still supports a team that's cursed, in his own words, by a golden trophy. S.A., how are you? Okay. It seems like we've lost S.A. Oh, well, I'm sure we'll get S.A. back in a bit. So whenever he is back, I'm sure he'll jump in. In the meantime, of course, yeah, as I say, send in your questions and comments. Tonight's show will probably be driven by your comments and views as well. So keep them sent in. Let's look back. Let's start by looking back at the Premier League this weekend. Lots of good fixtures so far, and obviously we're not quite finished yet with Leicester and West Brom, I believe, playing tonight. So still plenty of action still to take place. But let's look back on that weekend of Premier League action, and let's start at maybe a really surprising result, I suppose, in Crystal Palace beating Chelsea. Now, for me, I really didn't see this result coming, and I'd be very interested to find out if anyone else also found this result coming. I thought that Chelsea, despite sort of lacking midfield options, obviously coming into the game, we had. Well, no, not we, but Chelsea were minus a few options anyway. But then they lost, I believe, Willian in the game. So, I mean, they've got a bit of a midfield crisis going on at the moment. But nevertheless, I still felt that Chelsea would be just too strong for this Crystal Palace side, who, in all honesty, are a good team. They are a good team on paper. They've got some good individual players. But to be honest, I was a bit surprised how they done under Frank de Boer. I genuinely thought he has an interesting style of play. I thought he might have used that style of play, and I thought that they might have been a lot more successful than what they actually turned out to be. But I just never saw that coming. I've got to be honest. Roy Hodgson's side, who, funnily enough, becomes, I believe, the second ever Premier League manager. I saw this stat over the weekend. Second ever Premier League manager to manage 4 teams and to beat Chelsea, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. The only other manager, would you believe? Sam Allardyce, of course, another former Crystal Palace manager. So yeah, kind of a strange one. I really wasn't expecting that this weekend. When I saw that result, I was obviously watching Gillette Soccer Saturday on Sky Sports, and I mean, I just genuinely could not believe that that was happening. But that being said, as I say, Palace have a strong side on paper. They've got the players, to be honest, like Zaha. Zaha is a real game changer when he turns up, when he's in the right mood. He's a real game changer for Palace, and that's a fantastic sign. I know they've got their own injury problems as well, Palace, as have most teams, to be fair. So, I mean, there's no difference there. But I just didn't see that happening at all. And yeah, I mean, fair play to him. Fair play to Roy Hodgson and his side there, because that is not. Listen, a depleted Chelsea is not. Is still a hard game and a hard opposition to face. So, I mean, they've done a really, really good job to come out with a positive result there. Is this the start of their survival push? That's going to be the big question. And I would really like, that's the first question tonight. I would really like to open out to anyone listening, anyone watching along, whether you think that this is really the start of, as I say, their survival push. And if Roy Hodgson is going to mastermind their survival, I mean, I think it's too early to tell, too early to say at this moment in time, but we shall have to see. I believe Essay's back in the call. Essay. Okay. Looks like Essay's not back in the call. Sorry, Essay. He's in the call, but for some reason we just can't hear each other. Minus the voice crack there. There'll be lots of that tonight. But yeah, Essa, if you can hear me, I can't hear you. I'm really sorry. But that is a TFF Talks episode to a T, where there's technical issues afoot. But nevertheless, we have a show, and the show must go on. So, Essa, please try again, my friend. I'm sure it'll work eventually. Anyway, hang on. Was that him? I could just hear some. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Anyway, yeah. So as I say, is this the start of their survival push? For me, too early to tell. I think the real judgment of that, and I know this is very sort of on the fence thing to say, but the real judgment of that will be come January, whether they can recruit well. Now, whether Hodgson could use his contacts to his advantage and all of that. So
I can.
Esso's back. Yeah, he's back. Yes, awesome. I've got someone to talk to. Okay, so SA, I was just talking whether Crystal Palace's result was the start of maybe their survival push. Do you feel that at all? SA? Okay, and he's disappeared again. I'm really sorry. Oh well. Show must go on. So yeah, I think, like all the teams, really, the real definer is going to be that January window. Now they need to recruit well, and Hodgson has a lot of contacts. He obviously had spent time as England manager. Whether you deem that as a success, his time as England manager or not, he still has that contact. He still has that rapport with them sort of players. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does some good deals in that January window. Is SA back now? No. Okay, SA's not back now. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to move it on. And I mean, the next sort of question that springs to mind in regards to Crystal Palace and that Chelsea game is what kind of damage does that result for Chelsea do to their season? Now, same thing. I'm obviously, if you're watching, please do send me in your thoughts. But for me, this could be quite a bad result for Chelsea. Hang on, it seems like Essay's here. I can hear movements. Here he is. Essay?
Just hold on.
Okay.
One.
Okay, no worries. Just pop me a message when you're all set up and you're ready to go. I'll carry on. So yeah, the real one will be as to whether Chelsea, whether that result really has a dent in their season. Now, same thing as I sort of said with the Palace one, maybe on the fence here, but it's probably a bit too early to tell. But they are a considerable distance away from the league leaders, which is Manchester City. And Manchester City are absolutely rolling at the moment. They are doing so well. So for me, Chelsea, they need to pick up some good results soon. They need to start building some momentum. It's going to be really hard with this midfield issue, no doubt on that whatsoever. And in hindsight, maybe they should have looked to have recruited in the summer transfer window. Obviously, they lost Matic, which in hindsight is probably a bad thing. When you consider what's happening right now and actually how well Matic is playing as well, which is another factor. So yeah, I think they like Palace, like every other team in the league, they need a strong January transfer window. But I would say for Chelsea, they need to pick up momentum very, very soon. So they've got to start winning some games ASAP, because that gap between them and City will just get bigger. I believe it was like 10 points, 11 points. I'll just double check shortly, but off the top of my head, I know there's a gap. There's a gap there. And certainly at this stage, I know it's early in the season and you can sort of overturn that, but it's a huge gap when you bear in mind that you've still got games to go. You've still got a considerable part of the season to go. And to be that far behind now, could be very worrying for Conte, and that brings me on nicely onto the next point. Will Conte turn things around? You see, going all the way back to when Conte actually joined Chelsea, when they announced that, I believe they announced that before the World Cup, or there was rumours before the World Cup, and I mean at the time I was a bit sceptical personally, and I mean, I was a bit skeptical of Conte at first, and then I saw the World Cup and his amazing job he done with Italy. They played with such a positive style. Like they played really well. Considering I didn't really, to be fair, I didn't know much about him, and maybe that's on my part. I should have known more about him, but he just really stood out in that World Cup. I was just really pleased with how he done in that. But let's bring in Essay now, who should hopefully be back now. Essay, Conte, do you think he'll turn things around?
I hope so. I hope he does, because Chelsea aren't in the greatest of forms now, are they? So on the basis of should he turn if he's able to turn things around, I'd say yes, because putting the 2015-16 season aside, Chelsea aren't the sort of team that just wither away.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, as you saw in that was the season Leicester won the league, right?
Yeah.
Am I thinking same year? Yeah. So yeah, as you say, they can sort of wither away. It's all momentum. It's all momentum at this stage as well. Like you've got to start picking up some results. So yeah, I agree. Yep. You okay? Yeah. Carry on, essay.
Oh no, I wasn't going to say anything.
No. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough indeed. Okay, let's move on now. Probably one of the standout results from this weekend, especially in the Premier League, was Manchester City absolutely destroying Stoke at the weekend. So, SA, where was it a case of Manchester City just being too strong, or Stoke just being too weak?
I've got to go with Stoke City being too weak on this one. I mean, to hold Manchester United to a 2-2 draw like 1 week and then get absolutely annihilated by their rivals the other week, it's ridiculous, really. And for Man City to score seven goals in a match is just that just makes a mockery, to be honest.
Yeah, and what I mean, obviously Stoke fans are not going to be feeling very happy at that result. Do you think that Mark Hughes is maybe under a bit of scrutiny for that result, or do they just sort of count that as a one-off?
You could count that as a one-off, but let's be honest here. When was the last time Stoke City conceded that many goals in the Premier League game?
That's true.
They
That's true.
may have conceded like 3 or 4 goals in one game, but 7. Now that is ridiculous.
Yeah, it kind of seems quite strange when you think all the way back, and I'm thinking all the way back when obviously Pulis was there. It's strange. You don't expect Stoke to concede that many goals, do you?
No, not really.
No. Okay. So on to the Man City side of things. Could Man City look to beat their local rivals to the Premier League title this year?
Ooh. Man City on hot form at the moment. Manchester United are on the other side, they're on good form too, but the result against Liverpool at the weekend showed. Oh, hold on, let me start again. The result against Liverpool at the weekend showed their credentials against real tough opponents. If you know what I mean. I'm not saying that the opponents Manchester United have faced in prior to the game at Liverpool are like nothing side. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that the Liverpool match was a real test for them, and I don't think they passed it.
As in, you don't feel that Manchester United passed that test?
Not really, no.
Okay, that's a fair point. We will come on to the Manchester United game in due course anyway, so no worries. Let's talk about let's talk about another game this weekend. I'm sure you'd be absolutely delighted to talk about this game, SA. Obviously, Arsenal chucked away a 1-0 lead against Watford and ended up losing 2-1. I bet you're glad it's just me and you tonight, and not Josh or anyone else.
Yeah.
Where do you begin on that game?
You know what? To be honest, I was actually discussing the game with my brother the day before, and I was saying to him that this is a game Arsenal should be winning, but Arsenal being Arsenal always make it difficult for themselves. Lo and behold, yes, they did. So I'm not really surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that being said, though, Watford are certainly hitting the ground running this season. I believe they're up to 4th in the league, or they were up to 4th. I don't know if they still are. I mean, they're absolutely flying. So, I mean, should you really be that disappointed with that result?
in terms of going for the league, yes, but I don't think Arsenal are going. I don't think Arsenal should be going for the league. Of course, I expect them to, but realistically, I don't expect them to be going for the league this season. And for that reason, I think a Europa League run will be better for them.
Okay, and just on that, why don't you think that Arsenal should really Arsenal will win the league this season?
It's because of due to their participation in the Europa League, and in fact that playing Thursday to Saturday football will be really difficult. So.
Yeah, no, I can understand. As we saw last season, obviously Manchester United prioritised the Europa League and got their successes from it. So yeah, I can understand that. And is that something that you and is that the feeling amongst Arsenal fans that you would prefer to go for the Europa League, a new European trophy over a Premier League or domestic trophy?
Well, I think most Arsenal fans would hate what I've just said, and they'd much rather go for the for the Premier League, but I don't think that's realistic.
At least you're honest. And yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I think I think it would be a really good statement certainly for Arsene Wenger if you win the Europa League or a European trophy. Yeah. I think this season, personally, I think it's going to be a battle of the two Manchester clubs, as we'll come on to anyway. Yeah. Okay, on to Arsene Wenger very quickly. I know, as I say, in the past, it seems like we don't really go a TFF Talks episode without mentioning the sacred Arsene Wenger. But what do you think he could do this season to maintain? Just leave. Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, the rest of that was to maintain his job security. So I suppose if he does leave, then I mean, he's secure. He won't get sacked in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. And lastly on this game, obviously great result for Watford, but realistically, what should their aspirations be this season?
They're top 4 now, so I'm going to say top 10.
And do you think that they could maybe achieve that, or is this way too early to judge?
It's a bit early, but it's a high aspiration for Watford. But having said that, if they don't finish in the top 10, I won't complain too much, or most Watford fans wouldn't complain too much if they finish, like, say, around 11th, 12th.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, let's move on then. We're going to talk about one of the most hyped up games this weekend, which unfortunately didn't really reach expectations.
I learned from their lesson.
Oh no, I know. A goalless draw between Liverpool and Manchester United. SA, this is going to be probably the most obvious question I want to ask you this evening. But was that this weekend's most boring game?
Thing is, though, this happened last season as well.
Do you think it's a case of, I mean, because you say it's happened last season, and you know what, I've recalled over the last couple of seasons, I compared to what they were when I was growing up, and I know I'm still reasonably young, but like we're talking a good, I don't know, a decade or so ago, or 5 years ago. The games were so much more intense between the two, but I mean, at the moment they're just so dead, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Jose Mourinho doesn't like to attack; just comes to defend. Like, I mentioned this on the TFF article, my match review. Was it my match review? Yeah. If you can't lose, if you can't win, don't lose mentality. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, but to play devil's advocate, obviously he's picking up points, and yeah, I mean, points mean prizes. But yeah, I get you. Um, but I mean, I was having a conversation with my friend Finn Savage, who has been on the show before, and we was talking earlier, like literally in the summer, we was talking about whether you'd prefer your team to play good football or grind out results. And it's hard. It's hard as a fan because obviously I like for me, I obviously want my team to be successful, but if we don't play good football, then what is the point? Like, why would I watch? But
No.
what do you think, SA?
I think playing good football is essential in the early part of the season, and then to the whole in the home straight of the season, you just want to start grinding out results, especially in that between March and April or May. You want to start grinding out results from that period because grinding out results in that period tests just to your true title credentials. Whereas grinding out results in October, nah, it's not for me.
Okay, well, you've heard it here first. No grinding out in October. I mean, to be fair, I will say this as well. It's never really a good indication. Last year, my side Norwich, they were grinding out results in October, September, August without playing good football, and that was as good as it got. I'm afraid. Like, so it can be quite worrying that you're winning ugly but not playing nice stuff. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Back onto Liverpool United. Would you say that the draw was fair?
It was kind of fair. Although, having said that, some of the decisions that were made were ridiculous. I mean, especially in the first half, I felt that could have been a lot more yellow cards
Why
that
was
were
that?
handing out emotionally.
Was it bad challenges? Was it anything sort of handbags or anything like that?
No, it's just it was just challenges. Like, say for example, I think it was Lukaku's challenge on Coutinho wasn't penalised. I was thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah. What minute was that? Do you remember roughly? Was that right at the start? Was that?
Somewhere in the first half, but I can't remember.
Okay, no, that's fine. Sometimes the refs, certainly in derby games, I know obviously this isn't really a derby game, but they'll know there's rivalry on the line. But certainly in derby games, they like to try and give the first few, let the game settle um, without it sort of heating up, and then intervene when need be with cards. So I mean, maybe that could have been an element, but I mean, judging by the last couple of years, there's I would say the rivalry between the two clubs is between the fans rather than the actual players on the pitch. I feel.
Yeah.
Okay. And moving on to the last Premier League game that we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about Tottenham, who got their first Premier League win at Wembley, I believe, anyway, against Bournemouth. Sorry. SA, is it time for them to put the Wembley hoodoo to bed?
You know what? I know I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get it in the neck from Arsenal fans, but I'm just gonna say this anyway. I'm
Say
actually
it.
happy Tottenham won at Wembley
Why is that then?
because this Wembley curse thing—it's just absolute nonsense. I all I'm waiting for now is for Harry Kane to score in August, so we can finally put this BS to bed.
Well, I mean, we're obviously going to be waiting for next August for that to happen. But I mean, that being said, it was hardly an overly convincing win, was it not?
To be honest, I didn't watch the game, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
No, that's fine. But I mean, even just on a results basis, to beat Bournemouth 1-0. I mean, I know teams come here to shut up shop, or come to Wembley to shut up shop. And to be honest, the way that Bournemouth like to play football, a big pitch probably suits them. That probably suits them. To be honest, I did think it would be a game, but I mean, overall, their Wembley record has not been great, has it? Really?
Nah, but having said that, they did beat CSK Moscow there last season, so
It's true. That's true. And they obviously beat Dortmund, didn't they, in the
yeah.
Champions League? So it must be a Premier League thing. Okay. We'll certainly have to see in the next coming weeks if this continues, this hoodoo. But anyway, we're going to move on to the Football League now, and we're going to start off by talking about the fantastic boys in yellow and green who left it very late to rescue a point against Hull City. So, SA, as someone who's a neutral clearly to the Championship, with your side playing Premier League football and the very top flight of English football, well, do you think that Norwich could maybe maintain their unbeaten run at the moment?
They're looking all right in 8th at the moment, and just like a point off the playoffs.
Yeah.
But in terms of an unbeaten run, it's not going to be any easier. Like, I think they have Ipswich away. Oh, that's a derby, in fact. So I have a derby.
Yeah, it is indeed.
Derby next.
This Sunday is going to be a huge game.
So that's going to be really interesting. I'm going to like to see. I'm going to like to see that, and they have Ipswich, who are just a point below them in 10th. The unbeaten run is definitely on the line here.
It's certainly on the line. I mean, Ipswich, to be fair and to be brutally honest, they've really surprised me this season, and that's nothing against them as a club. I'm not one of these people that wants to shoot off their rivals. You know, I'm quite open to rivalry, and I'm not that fussed too much about it. So in that sense, I'm really pleased for Mick McCarthy. Actually, I'm really pleased he's hit the ground running this season. I don't know what you think, SA, but I do like Mick McCarthy. And I think Ipswich have started really, really well. And I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be an incredibly tough game on Sunday. Obviously playing at Portman Road, a decent stadium, to be fair. Portman Road's lovely. And hopefully it should be a packed out crowd, and there should be lots of noise and lots of atmosphere. And it'll certainly be an interesting game, don't you think, SA?
Certainly.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, obviously I'm going to hope for a Norwich win, but it's going to be a very close one. I think this game, like previous ones at Portman Road, I think this is going to go for a draw. It's going to be too tight to call because I think the occasion will just get to it. But yeah, as for Norwich and their unbeaten run, they've done well so far. I'm really impressed with how they've turned it around. They obviously have Arsenal the following Tuesday, which is going to be a huge game, isn't that right, SA?
Yeah.
Yeah. And knowing that game, SA, regardless of what Arsene Wenger's done previously, that game, Jack Wilshere will turn up, play his absolute best again. Literally any player, all the Arsenal players will come back and have their best game on that evening, because it's always the way.
Yeah, but the thing is, with Arsenal, we often tend to feel second string sides.
Yeah, but I mean,
So,
I agree. I agree. And I can't remember who I was talking to. I was talking to someone and they said um, Arsenal's doing a lot of rotation because of obviously Europa League action. But I've just got a gut feeling. I think you're still going to turn up, play some quality football, and just absolutely teach us a lesson. Um, and obviously, I hope that isn't the case, but uh, it just seems to happen. It just seems to happen. But do you remember the I think it was Jack Wilshere's goal.
oh, the team goal.
Yeah, the incredible goal, the absolutely
Oh my
incredible
days.
goal.
Do you know something? I actually watch that goal every year. It's just a good. I don't think there's ever been a year where I haven't watched where I haven't watched that goal. Oh my days. I'm
I
actually
know,
playing game.
I know, it's so good. It's such a good goal. But I mean, at the same time, as much as your play was fantastic, and it really was like it was outstanding. Like we talked about earlier with Man City and Stoke, defensively, we were so woeful. Um, So yeah, it was a combination of you guys playing so well and us being so shambolic. But lovely goal though.
Really good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the flip side. Hull City. I don't know if you've sort of looked into Hull City much or followed much of them so far. SA. They've had a bit of a hit and miss start really to the season. Um, but obviously conceding this late equaliser, which I believe was like the 96th or 95th minute by Oliveira. Um, I mean, where do Hull go from here?
Well, that last minute goal has taken a right hit on them. I think in order to prepare for the next game, it's going to be difficult. But still, the next game is Barnsley away. Barnsley themselves are not great, so I'm going. So I'm going for the Yo-Yo Premier League side to win that game.
Okay, yeah, I mean, as you say, Hull has still got some good players there, but um, that game is going to be enough a tough one. I don't know if you saw Barnsley. I believe picked up a point against Middlesbrough. I could be wrong, but they're doing okay. They're not doing maybe as well as they'd love to have done, but they're off to a good start this season. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. Uh, but we shall see. Okay, moving on then. Another sort of game that involved a late equaliser is Fulham. Fulham, who left it late to complete a 2-goal swing to make it 2-2 against Preston. So, SA, do Fulham have a strong case for challenging for promotion via either the playoffs or automatics this season?
Ooh, looking at the table now, they're like 6 points off automatic promotion, and 2 points off the playoffs. So at the moment, I'd say they go for the playoff positions, but anything can happen in the championship. So you just don't know. But I think Fulham's most realistic target now it should be playoffs.
Certainly. I mean, only 12 games played, so long season ahead. There's a lot of sides around there. Middlesbrough, for one, have really struggled recently, but they could still, if they start forming a run, they can make a push. Sheffield Wednesday struggled, but again, if they start hitting the ground, they'll be okay. So there's quite a few. It's a tough league. It's a tough league. Okay. I want to talk about the top three sides in that league now, which are, or who are, Wolves, who are on 26 points, right at the top. Cardiff, 24 points, and Sheffield United, who are also on 24 points. Are you surprised to see them three at the top?
Given their respective starts, not really. But Wolves got a creditable win against Aston Villa at the weekend. So, and coupled with Cardiff City's loss at St Andrews, I think Wolves are doing very well at the moment.
Certainly. Would you be quite worried if Arsenal were to play Wolves right now, or do you still feel that no, you still feel quite confident in Arsenal beating Wolves?
Based on Wolves' form, I would be worried, but also quite confident. Be confident, but also cautious.
Yeah, it's a very hypothetical question, but obviously they're sitting very nice in first place at the top of the league. So I mean, if you're a Wolves fan right now, surely you've got to be dreaming of that Premier League. Anyways, let's move on. We're going to talk about League One now, and it's going to be a really interesting one. It's a shame. It's a shame. Ben Jones and Josh Keeper-Wells aren't about tonight, because there's one game in particular I'd like to talk about, and that is Gillingham, who beat Peterborough 1-0. So SA, obviously, you know Josh probably just as well as I do at the moment. How pleased do you think that Josh Keeper-Wells will be feeling after that win?
Oh, I think he'd be buzzing after that. I mean, I don't think he'll. Wait, let me retract that. I don't think he'll be buzzing exactly, because they sit inside the relegation zone. But
Yeah.
having said that, he'll be relieved to know that they're just like two points difference between them and Doncaster.
Yeah, I mean, as well, the other thing to take into contention is that they relieved their what's the word? Interim. I suppose it would be an interim manager. So they sacked their normal guy. Oh my word, I can't think what his name is. I think it's Pennock. AD. I want to say AD. I don't know why I want to say AD. They sacked their manager, and then they had a interim in, and they sacked him as well. So this new guy's come in. I can't think what his name is either, but he's come in, and obviously they've picked up a positive result, so they will be buzzing right now. I can tell you that. And okay, let's look at the other end of League One. Let's look right at the top. Wigan won 3-0 and are the League One leaders. SA, do you think that they're set for an immediate return to the Championship?
No, should they get promoted to the Championship at the first time of asking for the second time in 3 seasons? They should look at staying. They should look at staying in the Championship.
Yeah, and obviously a side that's had maybe not the best sort of couple of seasons, should we put it politely, having gone Premier League, Championship, League One. Do you think that their aim, as you say, that do you not feel that their aim should be, once they get into the Championship, to push on within a season or two, or do you think that they should just accept mid-table at best in the Championship. I mean, I know it's hypothetical at this stage, but do you think that they could really use this potential promotion, this potential promotion as a chance to take them back to the Premier League?
I'm not knocking their ambition at all, but having said that, they look good so far. But asking them to look at promotion to the Premier League if they get promoted this season to the Championship, I think that's asking a bit too much of them.
Okay, we will have to see what happens with them. I think, I mean, it's unrealistic to look at it like that. I think long term that should be their own. They should be looking to get back to where they were. Okay, let's move on to League Two because we're fastly running out of time, which is good. Arguably, the result of the weekend from outside the Premier League came in League Two, with Luton beating Stevenage a whopping 7-1. SA, what sort of statement does that result sort of make for the rest of the league?
Wow. 7-1. Oh my word.
I know it's an incredible result, isn't it, really, for
you don't get these kind of results in League Two.
No, you certainly don't. And yeah, I mean, we've had 7-2 in the Premier League and a 7-1. And I know we had some interesting results. I think at the start of the season, I think there was another 7-something. But it's incredible in there. There's quite I'm pretty sure Luton were involved in one again. I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure they were. But yeah, what sort of statement does that sort of high scoring result say to any competitors in the league?
Well, that really does ring alarm bells. I mean, Luton sitting in the automatic promotion spots as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that really does show a real statement of intent.
Yeah, it's again, as you would expect, it's quite tight up there. Notts County leading the way on 29. Exeter also joint on 29, but just two less goals, on the goal difference side of things. Then Luton in third, 27 points. Accrington Stanley in fourth with 26, and then Wickham in fifth with 25 points. And finally, last team I'll mention, Newport County, for Jake's sake, on 24 points. So it's quite tight at the top there after 13 games played, isn't it?
Yep. Very tight.
Yeah, and that's without the teams like Coventry just below, Swindon, who are a team that could be quite up there as well. Mansfield, I think, as well. Don't write them off. But I mean, that's 7-1, right? That's 7-1. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that 7-1 came against Stevenage. Yeah, it was against Stevenage. Stevenage, who are ninth in the table, and I've just seen it as well. Like, they've scored 20 goals and conceded 20 goals. Incredible, really, for a goal difference stat. But I mean, that's surely quite a big statement to make, to beat a team who's ninth, 7-1. Crazy.
It really is, actually. And as I said before, it shows it shows their promotion aspirations as well.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Funnily enough, let me find it. Oh, I thought I saw that they beat Stevenage 7-1 in the past as well. They might well have done, but it turns out it was just a duplicate of what I wrote it down twice. Nevertheless, they're obviously Luton off to a really good start, and it's a tight sort of contest down there in League Two. So one certainly to keep your eyes on for the neutral anyway. Okay, that brings us to the end of the Football League segment. We've got about 10 minutes left of the show. So I've just got a few questions I'm going to ask Essay. Firstly, we're going to talk about his club. And if any other questions come in, please do send them in. And then I've got a few other slightly off-topic questions that SA can have fired his way. So SA, let's talk about Arsenal then. Arsenal, if you had to review how they've been getting on this season, how would you review it?
It's not a great start, to be honest. With three away defeats? Wow. I mean, I think it's not great, but having said that, I don't think I'm not viewing Arsenal as title challengers this season.
Yeah, as you said, yeah, go on.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, the reason being so is just simply their participation in the Europa League will be why I'm not viewing Arsenal as title challengers. If they do end up being title challengers later in the season, then that's great. But for me, I think they're not doing great, but they're just doing a little bit all right. A little bit all right.
Love that. And okay, again, hypothetical. We don't know what this season is going to throw at us. Certainly from now until May. But judging by what you've seen so far, and what you've obviously witnessed, Arsenal playing wise, do you think that Arsenal will finish higher than Tottenham this season, or vice versa?
You know what? I don't really care about finishing above Tottenham, to be honest. I mean, although it's a good thing to finish above your rival, but it's not something that I would look at, to be honest. I think if you do finish in the top four, that'll be another plus. But I think Arsenal's qualification for the Champions League, should be most realistically Europa League. Should be winning the Europa League, because I'd rather Arsenal win the Europa League than finish in the top four, because finishing top four you don't get a trophy for that, but winning the Europa League you do. So.
Yeah, I was about to ask you actually, what would you say? Because obviously you mentioned that you would love Arsenal to win the Europa League, but Premier League preference, what should they be aiming for this season? And as you say, realistically, what should they be aiming for?
Top four at best.
Okay. Yeah, top four. You obviously want Champions League football. There's no denying that. Okay, if you could change maybe just one thing that you've seen so far this season, what would it be and why?
Arsene Wenger. No, actually. If I could change one thing.
Yeah, I mean it could be a case of maybe one player not being injured who you'd love to be available to play. Maybe you'd like to see a different formation, a new signing. What sort of springs to mind?
You know what? Seriously, I really wish Cazorla wasn't injured, because I reckon he actually is the nucleus of the squad. And part of the reason we haven't been doing well is because of him, or the lack of him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real shame. He's a really good player, isn't he? I do like him. Okay, on that note as well, obviously you've still got Sanchez, who has survived any raiders in the summer transfer window. Do you think that he's starting to warm back to the Arsenal fans a bit more now?
Honestly, for me, it's difficult to say because even his body language after losing games, it shows that he'd rather be elsewhere. So,
and in that sort of situation, would you just sort of look to offload him, or would you try and put your arm around him, say, "You're a key player here. We the fans love you. Arsene Wenger, from Arsene Wenger's perspective, I love you," and all this sort of thing. Um, what do you think is the best approach?
I think the best approach would be just so I could put an arm around him and say, "Hey, come on, we're a good club," and etc. But if he feels like he doesn't really want to be here, then we should look to sell in January.
Yeah, that January window will certainly be very, very interesting. I think it's going to be. I think there'll be a few movers and shakers, as they say. And yeah, I think Arsenal will be involved. Certainly be involved. Also on that, then Lacazette's obviously joined the Premier League. He's joined you guys over the summer. Have you been pleased with how he started?
He started all right actually, but I don't think he's getting the right kind of service at the moment. But what I mean by that is that the passes come to him haven't been great. Like he's been making all the right moves, but the balls to him could be a bit better.
Is that where you miss a Santi Cazorla?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about Ozil? Because Ozil's like I swear he goes missing so often now in games. What's your view on him?
Honestly, Ozil's one of those players. He's good. He's good when he's on song, like the rest of the squad, but when we're bad, we're absolutely awful. So that's what I make of him.
Yes, I've experienced plenty of that in my time as a supporter through various teams of various seasons. Voice crack. Oh well. It looks like we've just about come to the end of tonight's show. So before we go off air, of course, I normally ask the panel to give their Twitter handles a shout out, but SA, I'm going to leave you to give yours a shout out this evening.
So my handle is A96OAYE.
Fantastic. And mine is at Danny Cook 1996. Of course, you can take the conversation, the debate further via Twitter, again, using those @, or just tweet the TFF main account at official TFF, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of discussions going on about the various topics we've debated tonight. Very quickly, thank you very much to the panel tonight. So thank you very much to SA in particular for giving up his time and joining me this evening. I really appreciate you coming on tonight, SA. Really do. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Always a pleasure to have SA on. Always a pleasure. So yeah, that's about it for tonight's show. As I say, you can catch up on all the previous episodes on YouTube. They're all on there now. Unfortunately, we won't be uploading any further episodes onto Audio Boom for the time being. We're looking into different distribution services, so all will be revealed in hopefully a couple of weeks' time. But for now, just check out the YouTube channel and just watch a couple of the old ones. There's some good episodes in the past on there. So that brings us to the end of tonight's show. So I have been your host, Danny Cook, and that is all for the not the second episode, for the 7th episode of TFF Talks Season 2, which was brought to you by Crowther Media and Halftime Cuppa, and was sponsored by Classic 11 Shirts. Goodbye.
See ya.